Okay, we're gonna call the Public Works and Planning Committee to order. I'm gonna call on Mr. Mike Sparks to say a prayer.
All right. Bow with me, please. Dear Father in heaven, come before you, Lord, humble hearts, just asking for guidance upon this body here. Lord, let us do and say things be pleasing unto you. Lord, let us always make the right decision. Lord, be with our president, be with our county mayor, be with our school superintendent, be with our sheriff, be with others, Lord, that are working and serving this county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, need a motion to approve minutes for the last meeting.
So second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first up, building codes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you have a report on the table for the Building Codes Department for March. Our total permits issued was 203. Our plan review fees were $625. Permit fees $44,546. Plumbing permits $5,780. Gas permits $650 for a total of $51,601. On the back of the report, we see that last March we issued 26 single families. This March, 42. Our total for this first 3 months is 90 single family dwellings, and last year was 78. So we were up 12 single families from last year, first 3 months. Our next report is the zoning enforcement. Our inspections for property maintenance was 93 in March, with 21 inspections on BZA or conditional use permits, 87 on signs, for a total of 108 in that category. New cases for March was 18 and closed cases was 42. Our next page is our development tax collection. Building Codes Department took in $89,250. Planning Department took in $7,500 for a total of $96,750. Our cumulative total, $1,149,750. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody got any questions on the report?
Well, David, those permits come in pretty good last month compared to, was it last year? What are you hearing from builders?
The activity right now, of course, is from some existing homes that was there, and our realtors are still working with the stimulus money up until the end of this month. So we're trying to get some new permits in to close by the end of this, or to seal a deal by the end of April. So we'll see how that stimulus money goes when it goes out the end of this month. But a lot of those were packages that was taking advantage of that stimulus money.
Okay.
But it's a good number for us, I think.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? I can take a motion.
Move to approve report. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, planning report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. First thing I'd like to discuss is our subdivision lot inventory, and from January 2004 to the present. This list here reflects 33 permits on this list that were issued. Nothing new was recorded, and there was one plat renewal, which you will see on the very last page, the highlighted one, Crescent Ridge. They did renew that particular plat. We do participate that one being recorded here probably within the next few days. Just to give you an idea of what we look like from this point last year. Of course, number of total recorded lots on this list is 3,300. Total permits issued is 1,775, which gives us a total available lots of 1,525, which is actually down a little over 140, or roughly 140 lots from the lots that we had in March of 2009. So we are starting to cut in a little bit into that surplus, not a whole lot, but we are starting to see a little bit of activity. The last several months that actually was less than that, so we are starting to see some activity there. If there's no questions on that, I'll move on to the zoning report. We just have one application, as you'll see on your packets. This is a piece of property located on Lebanon Road. It's about 2 lots totaling a little over 5 acres. The applicant's proposing to create some office and retail on these lots, about 30,000, a little over 30,400 square feet total. He's proposing to build about 16,000, a little less than that, on one lot, and then 2 separate buildings of 5,200 and 9,300 respectively, with a covered gas canopy on the other lot. The lots that is actually part of the Waldron Crossing. It's in front of the Waldron Crossing subdivision. Now, the subdivision, it's still under construction at this point. They've really cut some roads in. There's not a whole lot of activity going on. They are still working on the lots and the subdivision itself. But you'll see that there's a preliminary layout that they're showing in your agenda packets, as well as several different uses that they're looking at. This actually came to us originally as a planned development. However, under our new planned development regulations, they really wouldn't be able to meet the open space requirements for what they're proposing. So we just, after talking with them about it, just submitted as a traditional rezoning, a conditional use. There was some discussion regarding the requirement of a turn lane into this development. When this particular property was originally subdivided with the subdivision, it had some stub outs to adjacent property. Because of those stub outs, the state was going to require a turn lane on Lebanon Road into the development. As a result of that, the developer came back and amended the subdivision to not have any stub outs, just keep it a self-contained subdivision. With that happening, the state kind of backed off their requirement for the turn lane. However, with the addition of the commercial uses, it's possible that's going to kick that back into warranting another turn lane by the state. So what the condition that was placed on this read was that if it's warranted by TDOT, that the turn lane would be added into the development. Now that's something basically the developer will have to submit the information to the state. The state will let us know if they feel that a turn lane is warranted or not. Now that probably, we may not have that information before the meeting there, but before site plan approval and everything, we'll have that information. We'll know whether or not they require that on the site plan. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. That's the only zoning hearing that we had. This did pass unanimously. There were some folks who had some concerns with it, but as I recall, no one actually spoke against that at the public hearing. So.
When's the next meeting of the steering committee for the rewrite of the zoning?
At this point, we haven't set, we're thinking toward the end of this month. We haven't set a firm date at this point. The last meeting we had was very productive, as you were in attendance, you were aware. We've met with the consultants since then, had discussions with them about the scenarios. They've actually come up with 2 or 3 different scenarios to test, and are working through that process now with their folks and doing the modeling and everything. So we are hoping by the end of this month to have another meeting, and we'll of course get a memo out to you all when we have that. So.
Ms. Waldron Crossing, can your office request the state to have them put that turn lane in? I think it should be there.
Well, the way it was, the condition was originally worded was that we were going to request the use of turn lanes. After discussion at the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission felt that if it were warranted by TDOT, it would be better that way, to have a condition read that way, because the state has certain formulas and everything that they use. So if the state felt that it was warranted, then they would go with what the state said. Now, if that condition is changed, then I mean, to say we're going to require them regardless, TDOT has honored that in the past. You know, basically, if the locality wants it, then they'll unless it poses some sort of a safety hazard, they feel they'll go along with what the locality wants. But the way that this condition was worded at the planning commission, they were comfortable leaving it as warranted. If it was warranted by the state that they felt that they needed it, then they would require it at that point.
You know, putting a complex like this in, I can't see it not being a safety hazard, turning off 231.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you ever been out 231, what I'm talking about. Hope they have to put it in.
How many units is that?
The subdivision itself, the subdivision is about 50, I think. Let me see. 50, about 60, and one of them is a step system lot, and then there's one for detention, so you're looking about 59 or so residential lots is what you're looking at. It just fell right under the state's requirement for a turn lane just with the residential portion. I mean, if I were a betting man, I'd probably say that this would kick it into needing a turn lane, but you know, I'm not sure what criteria they used to make that determination. So.
I just feel like we should take care of our own instead of relying on the state.
Anybody got any questions? Bill?
I've got a question for him, but it's not related to that.
Let's get any questions on his reports anyhow. Make a motion to approve these.
Go to approval.
Second.
All in favor? Mr. Williams has got a question he wants.
I could have asked you today when I talked to you, but I'm getting old, I can't remember everything. We passed for there to be a turning lane on 99 where this Dollar General was going in. And the developer came back and said that the state didn't want it to be put in at this time, or in a time frame based on what they were doing.
Right.
Where are we at with that? Because I talked to the director down there at the state, and they said that if they were moving forward with it sooner as opposed to later, then they would move forward with getting there. They just didn't want to put it in and get all involved,
Right.
double work
Yeah,
basically.
the last conversation I had with the state, now it's been probably a month or so, was that after talking with the developer and their plans and everything, that they still wanted the turn lane bonded. The developer posted the bond, and as far as we know, it's pretty much ready to get started. I don't think they've gotten permits yet. I'd have to double check. I know they were up at the office within the last week or so, but they posted their bond consistent with what TDOT wanted, and are still of the same opinion at this point that, you know, if right now, you know, they still don't want to see it built. They'd rather see it bonded at this point. So that's the last comment. Now that conversation was, I wrote a couple of memos to our file about it, but I don't remember the exact date. But that's the last conversation that I've had with them,
Okay,
and that's.
If my memory serves me right, we had requested that we get a letter from the state.
The state wasn't going to write a letter, and now basically what I did, because I asked them about that, I said, would you please write us something? And they basically said no, they weren't going to do that. Now what I did do was say, well, I'm going to write a memo to the file, and I basically told them on the phone what I was going to write to my memo into the file, and they said, yeah, that's fine. And so I just wrote that and put it in the file, and I can't require them to give us anything in writing, especially if they're refusing to do it. But I thought that was the next best thing, telling them what I was going to put in the file, and they were fine with that. So.
Okay, can't we go ahead and make them put the turning lane in?
Now, if TDOT doesn't want them to put it in, we can.
Well, I mean, TDOT normally, if we get this Dollar General in there coming down that slope on that curve, I mean, we've a good friend of mine just got banged up for life just right there because people couldn't see. And if we have those cars stop trying to get into the school, we're going to have all these buses and all the school traffic. It's going to be a problem. So I think we need to make some sort, if they're going to go ahead with the building on this, I think we need to make some strong effort to get the state to let us get them to go ahead and put that turning lane in, because that's going to be a real problem right there.
Mr. Wells, all I can say is
I understand.
we can look into that, but ultimately it's the state's road. If they say, county, you're not putting that in, there's really nothing that we can do to make them do it.
Well, I
At
mean,
all.
you just said that they had never refused us when we requested that.
Well,
My question
yeah,
is,
now,
can we just go ahead and make that a further request?
we can make that a request now.
Okay.
They haven't refused, and they haven't refused it in this case. It's your-
I understand that,
Dollar
they got it
General.
bonded, right?
What they've said is that based on the circumstances out there, we don't want it right now. They still want it to be put in. They've looked at it and they are requiring a turn lane. However, with the widening of the road coming sometime in the future, they would rather not have them do all that work and then have to come back and just tear it all up anyway. So they're not refusing the turn lane. They would rather do it on their own timing. So
Well,
they have
I
not
understand.
refused anything.
Mike, do you know of any, I mean, the last conversation I had with them, they were more than 3 years out of being able to do anything with that. Have y'all received anything from them of any intent to widen 99 out through there? They normally do that 24, 36 months out, don't they?
Yeah, and I haven't received anything. I don't really know what their plans are.
Okay. But I'd just like to get that resolved, what we're gonna do with that before we issue them a building permit and we get school buses backed up. I mean, right now, if you come through there in the morning at 7:30, if you've got traffic backed up trying to turn into Dollar General to turn out, that's gonna be a big safety issue. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, but I'd like for us to check into that.
Well, we will try.
Okay.
And again, I thought it was resolved myself, based on the conversations I've had with the state. You know, they were pretty clear on what they told me was gonna happen and what they were anticipating requiring, and they have received what they wanted. So, I mean, if something has changed, I mean, we can certainly look into that, but.
Okay.
But, you know, I can't say that the situation itself is gonna be any different than what it is already, but
Okay.
we can look into it at least, so.
What can we withhold the, right, never mind. That's all I've got.
But we can require the turning lane to be there before we issue a permit.
Well, I don't think we can. When the state's coming back saying, we don't want the turn lane here right now, we want to be bonded, then, again, it's the state's road.
But it's a safety issue, and the safety issues can stop you from permitting.
Well, not if it's not considered a safety issue by the state. Again, it's not our road to control.
I understand that.
And, you know, as far as the safety of the road is concerned, I mean, if TDOT thought it was a problem, I'm sure that they would say, yeah, we think we need to have this turn lane in. I'm not sure of their hours of operation. I'd have to check on that. If it opens after school hours, at least in the morning, that might not be as much of an issue with the buses and everything as you're thinking it might be. But again, I'm not sure what their hours are, if they open before 8 o'clock.
Well, I thought they were also putting a gas station in there.
Yeah, well, not right now.
I mean, that was part
Yeah,
of the.
that's part of the overall project,
Right.
but the only thing the site plan was for the actual Dollar General and the retail, the small retail spots associated with that.
Okay.
Right.
Now, I hear you talking about this, but, what about the state representatives in that area? Are they aware of this?
I don't know,
Have you talked to them? Have you talked to them?
well, I talked to TDOT people back when they were saying, that, when the developer was saying that the state had plans to widen the road, and when I talked to them, they didn't have any plans for that at that time, and when I checked with, Mike, they weren't aware of any at that time either, so, but I have not talked to the state representatives, but I will.
It's kind of disgusting. We've got 2 turn lanes that have been discussed tonight, and somebody's gonna get killed if these 2 turn lanes are not put in. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's just common sense.
But the bottom line, if it's on state highway, we can't regulate them.
I understand that. You can put pressure on the state.
I mean, you can.
And we regulate our permits.
I think what he's trying to say though, that it's gonna be turning lanes on it, it's just cold when it is. And I'm sure they're gonna widen that road so to get through it. There's probably what's holding up widening that road, they ain't gonna widen it to get through without that egg. But they're gonna be widening up here and out there too. But
Is the state gonna be paying for the turning lanes? I don't think so.
No, that's what the bond's for. I mean, they call the bond, it comes at the developer, that comes from that.
Right, so why does it make any difference to the state? They're not paying
Have
for it.
to talk with them, I guess. I think they just don't
Well,
want to
I
see,
mean, I don't think it's
yeah.
my place, I think
Right.
it's your department's place to talk to.
Right, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, they just don't want the road to be tore up, doing what they're doing, just to come back and redo it all again. I mean, I think it's more of a, kind of a,
It's money over life.
well,
Any other questions, gentlemen? I don't know if we do.
I got a question on something else, though. If I want to ask you from an urban planning perspective, do you see other communities that have ever tweaked their development fee or impact fee? What I'm speaking of pertaining to senior developments. I mean, have you ever seen a community, when you look at impact, and you look at seniors and you look at, your general population with families and kids and so forth, your seniors aren't impacted. I know what I'm giving reference to is our Smyrna planning. We didn't have a Smyrna planning meeting this month because things were so slow, construction being so down like it is, and we're seeing people living longer. I just think there's a demand for senior housing, I think you would agree, but have you ever seen a community that tweaked their development fee or impact fee if it was pertaining solely to senior developments, like a senior PUD development?
I can't say that I have. Now, at the same time, I'll say that that's something I've never really researched.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something I can look into that a little
I
bit, see
mean,
if there is
that's
such
why I'm
thing.
wondering legally, if,
Mhm.
and, if you could check on it.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy
Based on
to.
that.
Yeah, that's something, in my experience, I've seen developments that were kind of tailored towards senior citizens be approved. I've never seen them have breaks in their development fees or the impact fees or anything like that.
Because if you're looking at true impact, if you're really analyzing true impact, you're not placing demand on schools. Traffic is not going to be as bad if it's seniors. It just seems like if it was it just seems to me that there would be that could spur some senior developments is what I'm getting at. If you could check on that.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'd be happy
Let
to.
us know next month or something.
Wouldn't that be up to the commission to change the private act?
But we don't really have an impact fee. Only the cities are allowed to have impact fees. We do have this development tax,
Right.
that's all we've got. And that's so much per single unit of residential
I mean,
construction.
you take Smyrna, for example, we've got, I think, a 300 person waiting list just for senior housing, some of those people could probably buy if there was adequate housing out there for seniors. It just seems like there's an opportunity there that may be missing, and if it could be spurred if the development fee or impact fee was tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'll take a look at it and see, we'll give you a report next month.
Okay.
You wanna ask him about minutes, Dale ain't here.
Yeah, Dale's not here, but, on the Halls Hill Pike project, last month, I gave him a list of complaints from the people in that area.
Mhm.
And he has stated to me that, they was trying to close out the account or pay the contractors his final money. But it was adequate number of complaints that need to be addressed by a contractor before they issue him his final check. And we thought Dale would be here tonight, and we were gonna bring it up, see where he stood on it. Some of them are some major complaints, basically all this water drainage in the homes and flooding out the lots, and one resident stated they never seen water stop on the side of a hill, but
You talk to Dale.
he got the list.
Dale I know he has the list, now.
You can, since Dale ain't here, you make a motion to not close that account out to it.
But let me interject a little bit right here. Pretty much all the engineers and all the inspectors have determined that the contractor has fulfilled their obligation. Now, it may be that some of these issues that Mr. McAdoo is talking about here would require some redress or revisiting. I don't think it's gonna be the contractor's responsibility. A lot of this, most of this is off-site, off the work area that he didn't contribute to. Now, so it's going to be up to us, the commission, to determine if we want to spend some of our own money to make some sort of remedial work done here. I think Dale did say that 2 or 3 of them, he felt like we probably could put some dirt in some of these lower areas that were low already, but it may have been a bit aggravated by this road to get the water out of there. So I think he's already addressed, I don't know if he's talked to Public Works or not about this, but I think we need to sit down, Mr. McAdoo, with him one-on-one, and maybe our Public Works people, just to evaluate what we can do. But I don't think we're going to be able to find that the contractor is responsible. I think if anybody's going to have to be responsible, and we want to address some of these, it'll have to be the county.
I'm not necessarily saying whether he is a contractor or not, but I think what he's saying is if we still got money in that account, wouldn't we?
That line item.
If there's any money left there, that's fine, but we had to put more money into that line item before we initially funded this. So yes, sir.
I think that's all he's asking, is don't close that out.
We won't close it out. If there's any money left there, we won't close it.
Okay, that's good enough, huh?
That's good enough to take back to the residents out there, I guess.
I may be missing something here, but if I hire somebody to build something, it's always been my understanding that it's the engineer's job, as well as the construction company,
Yeah.
to do it right. You put water on somebody that's never been there, the paying customer, the person that hired the people to do the job, don't come back and mop up their mess. That's what the engineers are for. They engineer it to tell you the water's gonna go here or here, you know, we're gonna do it right. Now, somebody hasn't done their job, and we paid them to do the job, and we don't need to go and pay them on the end to clean up their mess.
Well, that's perfectly okay, Mr. Johnson, but the contractor did their job. Now, if the engineer messed up and fixed something and didn't fix it whereby the water would flow just right, we have to go back on the engineer.
That's what I'm saying.
But we didn't hold back the payment of the contractor's retainage. They have been paid. And whatever money's left in the account, or whether we have to take other means to go find if the engineer made an error, that would have to be addressed independent of that.
It's not the first time it's happened, you know. We need to do something, if it's bond them until they've proven that they've done their job, or what. Future contracts, I don't know.
Contracts are always bonded, but our engineers and our staff have determined that the contractors have complied with their responsibilities according to specs, the specifications in the plans. Now, we will sit down with any of you, 1, 2, or more, one-on-one to review this whole list, and I think that would be the advisable thing to do, and you can see exactly what we're dealing with.
Can we just have it brought back to the next meeting?
You can, I think it'd be a lot,
You know,
wise decision for us to do this unofficially, and all of us look at this carefully.
I agree with you, man. I think you gotta look at some of the problems, see exactly what they are.
Some of those things that are on that list, we can do nothing about. It has nothing to do with a contractor or an engineer.
Right, but what I said was just based on what was already said in this meeting, that they never had water before, and they do now because they did the road. So somebody messed up, if that's the case.
That's the case.
And that's the case.
I think that's where Mac's been getting with Dale and his group and all, and they trying to work it outside there. I think his own concern was if they closed the account and they had to use some money or something to solve some problem or any of them that what they may have. And the mayor says they're gonna leave it open. I think that's all they're looking for here tonight. I think engineering and gonna try to solve the problem.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll proceed on to talk to Dale, but
I wish you would do that, and
Yeah,
I'd like
I
you
think
to tell
that's
me when
what-
you're having that meeting so I could be over there.
okay.
That's the main thing, to try to keep it voting in the council if he did. That, he's working with Dale and the engineer to make this, so, Lord, I'm satisfied with the rest of y'all.
Yeah.
I just don't want the word to get out to the people that we're gonna spend taxpayers' dollars to, I mean, because I think most people watching or that hear of this would agree that it's something that we shouldn't be paying for, that somebody else most likely needs to be paying because they didn't do the job,
If that's the case.
if that's the case.
Okay, we never gonna get the whole thing.
Yes, you've already voted on his
Okay.
report.
I guess that's it.
You may hang around for anything else. Thank you.
Okay, highway department, Mr. Williams.
Good evening.
Do his evening first.
First item I have is new drainage easements. They were voted on at Monday's meeting of the road board. The first one is an easement which is it's actually off of Cairo Road, where we're going to build a bridge. We have to do some downstream drainage, and we had to acquire easements to do that. And the second one is in Bradenton subdivision, lots 43 and 44, a minor drainage ditch in those two lots.
Motion to approve these first.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Next item is our budget for next year. I'll go to the bottom line first and I'll answer any questions you might have. Last year's budget was $9,356,150. This year's budget is $9,477,635, a difference of $121,485. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you might have. One thing you might look at on page 4 of 6, that is the rock quarry account, and it has been deleted. We had 4 employees left there. We've transferred them to our regular accounts, and we put in a line item for crushed stone of $150,000 into our other accounts, and I don't look to spend that this year at all, but I do need to put it in there just in case we have to purchase stone, but I think we have enough on supply to supply us for another year. And that line item is on line item 409 on page 2.
All meetings will go through page by page, or what do you want?
Are you decreasing your employees by 3 or?
3, yes. We had,
What is it?
It's on,
Well, I mean, what departments, I guess.
well,
What departments, I guess.
well, we had some vacancies that we did away with on part of it. On all of it are vacancies.
When you got passed away.
Yeah. And, we hadn't hired anybody in at least 3 or 4 years. Don't plan on hiring anybody this time unless we have some kind of emergency. And it would have to be a drastic thing if we did. We're trying to abide by the no hire policy that everybody else is trying to do.
Salary increases, are those step raises?
Yes, they are step raises for each employee. And that's all figured into the budget already.
On this document here, this is the revenue that.
Yes. That's our presumed revenue, yes.
So the property tax rate's gonna be the same.
Well, it's, the only property tax money that we get is 1 cent for the Public Works Department. And that account is on, the Public Works account is on page 5 of 6. The total on that account is $467,410, and 1 cent has been taking care of that each year. I know our budget is higher than our projected revenue, but last year we finished in the red, and hopefully if things improve a little, we're gonna try to do that this year. We're trying to hold our spending down all we can. Right now, we're about $1 million in the red, but I'm hoping by the end of the year that'll straighten out, I hope.
Enforcement there, the extra salt, we had to get.
Yeah, we pretty well depleted our salt. And we're trying to get enough in the budget this year to resupply the salt. And that item is on page 2 of 6. We're increasing it from 30,000 to 75,000. We got a quote on salt. Last year, I think it was $78 a ton.
Is anything in here on the new sign we want to go through?
Yeah, we, federal mandate on signage is, all of our stop signs will have to be changed to 30-inch stop signs, high intensity. All road name signs have to be changed to a 9-inch blank with 6-inch uppercase letter and a 4.5-inch lowercase letter. That's every sign in Rutherford County will have to be changed. I think we've got to the year 2015, but if we don't start now, we won't get it done. And I project that cost will probably be somewhere in $300,000 range total. So we have increased the sign line item account to 50,000 from 22 to get started on that.
That material there, so you had to buy a new machine on, you had to have another special room, be locked up.
Yeah, it's a computer control machine. We've got about, we'll have about $8,000 to $9,000 in that machine just for that purpose.
So we'll still be doing our own sign.
Yeah.
It's mandated, we have to do a certain thing.
Yeah, you gotta do the high intensity, which is more reflective than the signs we use now. and a larger size. We currently use 24-inch stop sign. It has to be 30. And if it's at a 4-lane divided highway, it has to be 36 inches.
Are they signs maybe like the one down around Cool Springs that look
Probably.
like they glow?
Yeah, they will glow at night when you light to them, look like they're lit up.
It's a federal mandate. Oh,
And unfunded federal mandate.
I was gonna ask you how much they give you.
Nothing.
Well, I'm glad to know it's the size of the sign. I just thought people couldn't read.
Well, they
Have you
can't,
ever tried?
they can't if they're missing, and we have that problem too.
Well, I'll clear that up. It's just too small of a sign.
Yeah.
Probably lose more of these. They're prettier.
Yeah, they will look better, especially at night.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Anybody got any questions? Must wait.
Mike, you mentioned 150,000 on the crushed stone. What was
Yeah.
the increase for that?
In case we have to purchase stone, we're not gonna be crushing anymore, we're closing the crusher down. That account was $400,000. And if I had to purchase every stone we used last year, I could do that for $150,000. So I think it's more feasible for us to buy what stone we need. All the roads we have are paved, and about the only stone we use is for dig outs or driveway connections. Or if we did a new project, we might have to use some stone, but our use is down so much, I don't feel like it's feasible to use that crusher. To put it back in good operation, it probably cost $300,000 to $400,000.
Wasn't there a big safety issue out there?
Well,
I mean, from
The permits and all that you have to have for, that's considered a mine, are so expensive, and each time you have a little safety violation, it's anywhere from $500 on up, so it's quite a headache to do. You've got stormwater, air pollution permits. It is considered a mine as far as the federal government goes.
Anybody got any no question on the budget? We'll call the roll.
I'll be happy to call the roll. Committees have just been doing a roll, acclamation.
Okay, so we don't have to. All in favor? I'm gonna pass on.
No more. Thank you.
Hey, Mike, real quick, did Paul Johnson mention at the road board meeting, there's a guardrail asking to look into Faith Sanders?
Yeah, there was an accident up there, and I got a quote back on it today, and I'm gonna submit that to the insurance company.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Litter. I meant to tell you that I had a copy of that.
Yeah.
We can pass that.
We had a short meeting last month, for my part anyway, but we'll make up for it tonight. What we have tonight is the normal report that I do, plus the entire Fund 116. We've got quite a bit to cover. And what do you want to start with?
The litter order.
The litter? Okay, we've recently taken over the litter crews. We've got, basically a crew and a half that runs. One runs 5 days a week, the other one runs normally 3. Still picking up quite a few roads. Get quite a bit of trash off the side of the roads, plus a few tires, televisions, couches, all that kind of stuff. But it's going pretty smooth.
The litter ordinance was.
Yeah,
I think Mac is missing the point on that.
yeah.
No.
The litter ordinance.
I don't know that Mac, I didn't give Mac a copy.
He's not in on that.
He wasn't in on
Not in on
that,
that.
but you can be, since you're good with litter.
Johnny, Rutherford minus contract for 2010, 2011.
Now, that's not it either, Mr.
That's all.
Jernigan. I don't, y'all talked about somebody getting information regarding a litter ordinance where people wouldn't throw out papers and stuff, and I thought that's what you were addressing in this. I didn't put this on the agenda.
Well, I put that in everybody's box, in their mailbox, 10 days ago.
The litter ordinance.
The litter ordinance that,
I just wanna make sure all of us had a copy of it.
well, the discussion was we don't have a litter ordinance in Rutherford County, and how this came up was I've got some folks that are not real happy with all around in my district about people throwing newspapers out at the end of their driveway and different advertisements and all. So what I was gonna do, and Anthony went to Smyrna and Laverne, and I went to Eagleville and got a copy of Murfreesboro's ordinance, litter ordinance, and I put a copy of Murfreesboro's litter ordinance in everybody's box to look at it. I've got some extra copies here, but I think the intention was to, anybody else need a copy? From my perspective, was to look at this and send it on to steering from here, or not, depending on what we're gonna do, to see if this, and what I was hoping to do was to get all of the incorporated and unincorporated parts of Rutherford County all on the same page, or as close to the same page as we could, about people throwing things out in the driveways. I thought Murfreesboro had researched it and done a pretty adequate job on what and how they have addressed this, so I was hoping that we would forward this on to the steering, either with some modifications or without some modifications, and then I'd be happy to, or Anthony would, or anybody else, and we would go. I've talked to Eagleville and met with them at their city council meeting, and they'd had experienced some of the same problems down there with people going out and just throwing things out. So just wanted to address this and get us all on the same page and have something that could be done, where a number would be required to be published if people throw things out as a minimum, or as the Murfreesboro ordinance says, the penalties and violations of this can be punishable of a fine up to ever how much that would be. So I was just hoping for some sort of recommendation from us to send this to steering, because that would be where we would have to adopt an ordinance, and that, right, Mayor, let them look at that and then go from there. That was what this was on there for.
I'm making a motion to send it to steering.
I will, if everybody's looked at it and okay with it, I'll make that motion to send that.
I think you need to go ahead and add something to that somebody will take this data that you retrieved from the city of Smyrna, Laverne, and Murfreesboro, consolidate that into some sort of proposed resolution, ordinance, and then have that presented at the steering committee.
Smyrna and Laverne didn't have one.
Oh, they didn't
We
have
only
one.
had
That,
Murfreesboro.
yeah, nor did Eagleville.
Well, if you would allow me to suggest that you authorize the mayor in working with the county attorney to prepare a draft resolution that would address this and present it to the steering committee.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, let me have a copy of it, please.
There you go.
Mayor, can I have it and I'll give it back to you?
Only got one more.
Back to me later.
Okay, then, that'll handle that.
Yeah, check that one off.
To anyone that hasn't noticed, if you get the Smyrna AM thrown out in your yard, there is a number on that paper that you can call, and you just call it, and they're very nice. They stop it immediately. Or if you find one and you like it, then you can request them to send you one, and they'll throw it out in your yard. Actually, I was getting two, now I'm getting one.
All right, Mac, we're ready for you to start.
Okay.
Well, I would like to make one other observation, and that is that since this is a Murfreesboro ordinance we have here, I think, section 14-89, dogs, cats, and domestic fowl, has been a source of controversy. In fact, one of our judges has told me that it can't be enforced. And
Well, let me make it clear, we're going to only address litter. That may be a much broader set of regulations and ordinances that we need here, so we're gonna reduce this and refine this down to something as a good starting point, all right?
right, and I would like the county attorney's opinion before we propose to adopt anything like
Absolutely.
that.
My suggestion is not the whole ordinance, just a portion of this that addresses the litter.
The litter piece of it.
The litter pieces of throwing it out in the driveway.
That's what I.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
I'm all for that.
I live in an area where we don't need to be talking about animals if they have problems, no.
Okay, Mac.
Okay, the landfill report.
All right, thank you.
We were actually 3 times more busy for the month of March of 2010 than we were for 2009. Our volume has increased that much with the flow of traffic through there. And then the next thing we need to discuss on the landfill, if you don't have any other questions on this, is Saturdays. Last year, we were open the first and third Saturday for the morning. And you'll see later on how tight the budget is. I'd rather not be open Saturday at all, to be honest with you. I would be willing to agree to 1 Saturday a month, but 2 Saturdays a month, I think is a little bit much.
How much does that cost me per day?
Well, it's, on Saturdays, it's overtime, and we're open for 4 hours, and most of what we get in is residential stuff, which is free, so there's no income to go along with that. We'll get a little bit of commercial stuff, but very little.
When citizens, when people show up on a Saturday, is it just because they work so much during the week they can't make it, or?
That's a lot of it. And our landfill operating hours are from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you work a regular Monday through Friday public job, normal hours, you won't be able to come to us.
And what brought this up several years ago is the convenience center were taken for a while, and then they cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who lived out in the county who worked, had no way of getting rid of the stuff. And that's why we went to the Saturdays, and we originally was open every Saturday, and then cut it back down to 2.
Right.
And to cut it back down to 1 would just be, I don't know, I don't think it would serve the needs of the people out there that need it the most.
The biggest thing that would concern me then we run into before is, like Mike said, a lot of people off on the weekend when they're doing this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna end up dumping everywhere on Saturday, everywhere on. It's what concerns me.
And if we only open a half a day, then you're not really doing that much good, because people get up, they do the yard work or demolition, whatever they're doing, and by the time they get to the landfill, it's closed.
But if we open 1 Saturday a month for half a day, that reduces our impact on our cost, and it asks you to plan ahead, where you get your stuff done, and then if it's the first or the third Saturday, whichever Saturday we open, which I would suggest the third, because there's 2 holidays that fall on the first. This past Saturday was one of them. We weren't open, and the next one will be July the 4th. So we won't be open on that one. So if we're open on the third Saturday of the month, then the residents can plan ahead and come that 1 Saturday a month.
Is it just brush that you see more on the weekend like that?
I will see a little of all of it. I mean, if you're doing yard work, you'll have brush. If, a lot of what we've gotten in here in the last few months is old decks that have been in bad shape, and they've torn those down to replace them or whatever they're gonna do, but, the privacy fence type things, that type of stuff's a lot of what we see.
Well, I'm kind of like Joe Frank and Commissioner Gooch on this. We've reduced it from 4 Saturdays to 2. If we could just say that we're open the nice, pretty weekend, when the weather's good, I think that would solve the problem. Unfortunately, we can't predict when that's gonna be. So giving them, the residents, 2 opportunities during the month is a savings over the 4. And it's like Joe Frank says,
Let's just move on, we'll go with 2 Saturdays a month.
I think that's what we're gonna do and say the rest.
well, I had some pictures of some sinkholes that I was gonna show, but
We can open every
No,
30 days a month and you can still show those pictures.
No,
I want to make one statement to all those people that are bringing yard waste. If they bring it in a bag, it has to be emptied out of that bag. The bag cannot be left in our pile. We cannot burn bags. We can only burn trees, brush, shrubs, that's it, period.
We can only burn natural
We're gonna have to start
fibers.
enforcing that.
Mayor, will Florence Road take some of that?
Florence Road will take all of this stuff we're talking about.
And they won't take trash bags, but they'll take biodegradable.
Are they open on Saturdays?
You gotta have a biodegradable bag or don't leave it. We were gonna have to stop that.
So we will accept the biodegradable.
I guess if we
Not
can
plastic.
tell what they are, not plastic, not vinyl, you cannot
No.
take it, it's.
Well, and a lot of what the mayor's speaking
Brown
of as
paper
well, is if
bags.
you clean out your landscaping, you know, pull your mulch out and all that kind of stuff to redo that, and you pull that fiber out, that fabric out with it, that fabric can't go in that
Can't
pile.
come to us.
That fabric has to go into the landfill itself. And a lot of what we have is the general public, they're in a hurry, they want to get rid of it now. I'll give you a fine example. I was at Sam's at 12 o'clock today checking the recycle containers. The guy walked up and said, "The City of Murfreesboro Convenience Center is closed because it's full. Can I dump my trash in here?" I said, "No, sir, this is recycle only." If I hadn't been there, we would have had trash. And it's just,
Maybe
you know,
there tomorrow anyway.
That's probably what's going on.
Okay.
All right, first and third Saturday of the month, but we were closed last Saturday. We'll be closed July the 3rd, which is the Saturday before the 4th.
Is all that information online, on the internet?
What we can and can accept is in there.
And your hours are on there too?
The hours are on there. The first and third Saturday from April through October, so it's actually open 7 months that way. It was actually a mistake on my part when we talked about it last year. I added a month in there and already had it posted, so I just left it. So, but we can take that one out if y'all want to. I guess not.
I think a good people gotten used to it, and it's been working, I appreciate the mayor.
Okay, on the convenience center side, convenience center has gotten a little bit more busy since the weather's changed. We were closed Easter Sunday, which is the first Easter we've ever been closed. And we were more busy today because of that. And we were a bit more busy Friday and Saturday because of that. But the people, we've advertised it as well as we could. We put signs up at each center. It's on our website that we're closed on those holidays. And the people did find another day to come, which was Friday, Saturday, and today. I checked the messages before I came tonight. There was 55 loads generated in convenience centers today. And a normal Tuesday is around 20 to 23. Saturday and Friday and Saturday was a whole lot busier than normal as well. So I think that worked okay. I've not gotten any phone calls. I think everybody pretty much understood that Easter Sunday should be a pretty decent day for us to be off. We did work Good Friday though.
Get any reports, any illegal dumping or anything? You didn't?
No.
Okay.
I know we're tending on the gravel roads since they went to recycling out there.
Where's that?
Since they set that up and been recycling, they really been cooperating out there, what they got told me the other day, said really surprised them.
If you remember, we received some grant money latter part of last year. We spent $154,000 to buy recycle containers. $110,000 of that was grant money. Currently, all the convenience centers, with the exception of Las Casas, Almaville, Craner Road, Rockwell, and Leanna, accept all 6 commodities. We have the containers for Las Casas and Almaville to put the glass in there, and then they'll be accepting all 6. Craner Road, we're still working on how we're going to get it fit in. We think we can pull that off. Las Casas and Rockville are just way too small. We won't be able to add any more commodities to those. We also put glass containers in the city of Murfreesboro Convenience Center. MTSU has a recycle location. So once we complete what we are trying to do, as far as locations to recycle in the convenience centers, out of the 15 counting the city of Murfreesboro, 13 of those will have all the commodities plus what we have for MTSU and currently the unmanned site.
Our plastic bins, are they only for beverage bottles?
They're for bottles, they're for plastic containers. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is like a plastic hose reel. That's not recyclable. Plastic shutters, those aren't recyclable. And that's the reason most of the containers say beverage containers.
So basically, as long as it has a recycle symbol on,
The
usually on the
triangle.
bottom.
Right,
Then it's okay,
Mhm.
unless it's oil
right. Well,
or
the
some kind of,
the oil containers with the recycler that we currently have, as long as they're drained completely, the recycler will take them. But a lot of the problem is people won't drain them and it makes a mess. The other thing that people that are recycling can do to help us is when you bring that trash bag full of plastic jugs, plastic bottles, if you would flatten them first, your trash bag was gonna last longer. And if you'll dump that bag instead of leaving the entire bag, because the bag itself is low density poly, it's not recyclable in the world that we use. And then if you put that bag in there, you've got several bags that create a lot of airspace and voids to where if you just put the commodities in, it would help.
plastic coat hangers are not recyclable, are they? 'Cause I've been seeing a lot of those
No.
out there.
Last month, for the month of March at the convenience centers, we hauled 811 loads out of the convenience centers. 129 of those were what we call hill yard loads, which we pick up on Saturday afternoon after the landfill closes, plus on Sunday, and then we have to dump them again through the week. So 32% of what we did came off that weekend hill yard load stuff, where we worked twice. Out of those 811 loads, Weekly Lane was 179 of them. Sand Hill was 120. And then the next closest one was Almaville at 74. So other than Sand Hill, Weekly Lane was twice as busy as any other center. And then it goes down to as small as 11 loads came out of Christiana Fosterville. Any questions on the convenience center report?
I'm gonna take Keith and let him get through all the reports.
Together.
Okay.
That's-
Then,
That's all the reports I have. The next thing's the budget.
Motion approved. Second.
all in favor?
The next thing we have is the budget, and it's for the entire Fund 116. We'll start with budget 55720, which is the litter budget. And I want to remind you that this budget has all the mayor's recommendations filled in, but he's still trying to reserve for pay differences. Hopefully, we'll get those in. We're still going to try to ask for them anyway. On the litter, on this first page, the litter crew, Mr. McElroy passed away. We're in the process of interviewing. We haven't started interviewing yet, but we're going to hire a replacement for him. I'm currently using one of my drivers as that, just to try to save a little money for the county. So that salary will go down because he'd been here for quite some time. And then there's a few other changes that we've made. The budget is actually going to decrease from last year's budget by a little over $9,000. You'll see that at the bottom. This budget is funded partially through the litter grant, which is $107,000, with a shortfall of $22,739. Any questions on that one? The next page is and it's a two-page one, is convenience centers. We've changed a few things around, moved things from the next budget to this budget. If you'll go to the second page and look at the bottom, this budget is funded by two sources. sales tax revenue from the county portion, 60% of the county portion of the sales tax, which means if you buy anything in Marshburg, Smyrna, Laverne, we get nothing. If you get it in the unincorporated part of the county, that's where we get our money. We're estimating to get $1.2 million from that. And we also get the host fee from Middle Point, which we're estimating $800,000. So $2 million of income for this budget with a shortfall of $127,479. And if you also notice, this budget increased by $239,390. But if you flip the next page, look at the bottom of the recycle budget. That one decreased by $267,000. And what we're going to do here, our contract with our private hauler on the recycler expires in July, and we plan on hiring ourselves. So we kind of tied these two budgets together a little bit. There's money in the budget that we've had an unfilled position for 2 years as a driver, so we will fill that position. We'll also purchase a truck, and we'll attempt to haul all this recycle ourselves. So that's what the differences are in those two budgets. The revenue for the recycle budget is the sale of recycled materials, which we're estimating $75,000, and the recycle rebate grant, which is $20,000 for a total of $95,000 worth of income. Still estimating a $40,000 shortfall.
Now, does this contemplate then that we're gonna drop the Alliance stuff?
Alliance will no longer be hauling for us. We'll do that
Yeah.
ourselves.
We'll take it down to them? Okay.
Okay, the next budget is the landfill operation and maintenance budget. We made a few changes in it. If you'll go to the bottom of the second page of that, the income is, we're estimating to have $250,000 worth of income in tipping fees, plus the tire grant at $183,000. So we're estimating a $433,000 worth of revenue coming in with a $254,368 shortfall. The next budget is the post-closure budget, which we've got some issues at the landfill with some leachate. We're going to put some money in there to try to correct those issues. So we're actually going to increase that budget by $93,000. There is no revenue coming in for that one. Your next budget is the employees' benefits, which I put it in the same as we had last year, which is actually not accurate because the insurance will change. But to make the totals come up, I just left it the same. Your next page is the miscellaneous for buildings and insurance and judgments and all that. I put those in identical as last year. And if you go to the very last page, that's your total page. As you'll see, what I was requesting was 3.3 million, or 3,398,000. What the mayor's recommended, 3,069,000. You'll see there at the bottom, little grant, sales tax, host agreement, sale of recycled materials, recycle rebate grant, tipping fees, and tire grant is our income of $2,635,000. So we're going to be short $734,767. Where that's going to come from is fund balance. Our fund balance for solid waste, if we spend what we're budgeted to spend this year, and our revenues come in what they're budgeted to come in, at the end of this budget year, we should have right at 3.5 million in fund balance. If we continue at this rate of pulling out fund balance, we will not have a fund balance at the end of 5 years.
What percent is that fund balance? What percent?
Percent of
If
what?
we take this 734,000 out, what would be the fund balance percent?
Of his total expenditure, his total expenditures is 3.4 million. So his fund balance right now is about 100% of an annual expenditure.
If we had no income whatsoever, we could possibly operate 1 year out of fund
Operate 1 year.
balance with no income.
So the 5 years is with a projected income.
Yes.
what you carry fund balance, that's why I'm giving a hard time.
Well, the host agency revenues over the last several years have continued to decline.
Yeah.
But the good side of that, you know, there's usually a good side if you look hard enough. The host, he's right, the host agency has declined, but the tipping fees has increased enough to offset it. So we're still looking to be even.
And we're saving a bit of money this year with respect to us hauling these recyclables. There is a net positive return, even though we do have to purchase a truck this year in this budget, which is $145,000. We postponed purchasing any vehicles over the last 2 or 3 years, and we have to do this, and of course, we're gonna be hauling more boxes now, you might say, as well.
Mac, how do you do that when you take it to
Yes, sir.
whoever's purchasing the metals?
Any of the materials,
You bid that, do you get?
I'm not planning on bidding it out. What we plan on trying to do with it is shop the price and see who, one, is closest and who's paying the most. And, you know, just because they're paying the most and they're further away, the trucking costs may eat up whatever additional money you're gonna get. So we're gonna look at it in that manner and try to be as efficient with it as possible. So we're not looking at bidding out the commodities.
I think we've done a good job putting all that together, so combined with we, working with the mayor and all, I think we've done a good job.
Let me ask, when you look at, technology and recycling and so forth, do you see any areas that's going to help us in the next few years?
Absolutely.
Whether it's people purchasing plastic, for example, or glass, I mean, where do you see years down the road where it's going to start helping in this situation?
A lot of it's going to be through education, where people are going to have to understand that one, it is the right thing to do, and the other is you're going to have to try to save the landfill space as much as possible. That's the reason they've been pushing the bottle bill as hard as they have, and it's got some good intentions in there. A lot of people just don't want to recycle yet. They just have not bitten the bullet and want to, and it's going to come to the point to where if we don't force people to do the right thing, we're going to have to raise their taxes to pay for them not doing the right thing. And I know raising taxes is something nobody wants to do. I ran some numbers on it. Last year, when I pulled the numbers, it was 76,504 homes in Rutherford County. If every home paid $50, that would fund my operation.
But don't you see, as aggressive as the county's got, just like taking all these convenience centers and putting recycling and all of them, I see more and more people getting involved in it, just like I mentioned, Bradle Road. Before, people didn't have these.
Right.
So I think once we get all the centers set up where they do recycling, I think within a couple of years, you're gonna start seeing more results, more people getting used to it, I think they will.
Well, by doing what we've done, our hope is that if you're going to come to the convenience center to bring your trash, at least you'll separate your recycled materials and recycle there. The way it's been set up in the past, you'd either have to go to one of the unmanned sites or to one of the convenience centers on the north end of town to do your recycling. So we're hoping that people actually improve their effort because it's going to be a little more convenient. You don't have to drive all the way into town.
The more convenient any program is, the more participation you're gonna have.
Right.
That's just human nature. It's all about convenience.
Well, I've noticed sometime within the last 2 or 3 months, there was a solicitation leaflet for curbside recycling in Murfreesboro, private business.
And that's something that really needs to happen, but unfortunately, most people are not willing to pay for it. Now, if you actually think about it, think about where you're going to separate it. Most of you are going to separate your recycle right there in your kitchen. When you take your groceries out and you take your packages out, you're going to separate it right there. So if you've got 2 containers, one for recycle and one for trash, and then you've got a trash provider and a recycle provider where you take it to the end of the street once a week and pick it up, that's going to be your easiest way to do that. You don't have to haul it around with you or anything like that. Unfortunately, people just don't want to pay for that service.
But if you look at what he's talking, I forgot the name, what's the name of the company that's doing that? It's like two businesses here in
Yeah.
Murfreesboro doing it, isn't it? And is there any way that the county couldn't help them? You know, maybe it's putting their link, if they have a website on our website, or maybe giving them some kind of little publicity or something on Channel 19 or something, because I think there are people that would pay for it. It may not help you a lot on your budget, but I think there's people that would be, because it's, let's face it, paint recycling. I do it, but it's kind of a pain trying to mess with it, but I think there'd be people that would take advantage of it if they know about it. You know, a lot of people, I'm sure, aren't that aware of it.
One of our biggest shortfalls is lack of a way to communicate. I mean, we can get access to Channel 19 and to Channel 3 pretty easily. A lot of people don't have cable.
Well, that's true.
You can call Daily News Journal and talk to them and give them some information and not really do an ad, but they'll try to do a short article for you. A lot of people don't read the paper anymore. You know, so we
But they're all on the internet, you know, so there's an
Right.
area right there.
But we have a hard time trying to communicate.
That's messed
Anybody got any more questions on this budget?
No. Motion to approve.
up. Second.
All in favor?
I do have a question, however, going on the budget.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us a 30-second version of the new program, the pilot program that we're working on recycling in schools?
The pilot program, still running with the 6 schools. We just recently added the county jail to it. Miss Pat over there kept calling, really wanting to get involved with it, so we added the jail to it. We've not gone out of the pilot program yet, one, because of the litter grant thing, just trying to save a little bit of money there, and then trying to get it to where we can manage it. What we'll probably do, our next phase, hopefully, maybe by the end of this month, there's roughly 50 schools left in the county that's not in the program. So what we're intending to do is take the north side of the county and convert those schools, put them in the program, leaving the south side out of it. The reason we're going to choose the north side is the density of the schools is a little bit closer together, and the disposal facility is a little bit closer to that. So if we have an issue, it's a little easier for us to correct, get them on board, and then convert the rest of the schools over, and then have them all on board with it.
But just for the folks that are just now learning about this, can you elaborate on what it is we're doing? And this is one of the pilot program is something that we're actually looking for somewhere down the line, maybe for expanding out into the county convenience centers.
Right.
Where it's all of the well, you explain it, so. I went to the facility with you, we all went down there.
I'll go ahead, because I have never told y'all who's in the program, but I'll tell you tonight who's in the program. We service the Rutherford County schools and the city of Murfreesboro schools. So when we started the pilot program, we wanted 1 city school in it and 5 county schools. So we have Irma Siegel City School, elementary school, the Siegel Middle School, and the Siegel High School in the program. We also have the new school, Browns Chapel Elementary, Smyrna Middle, and Laverne High in the program. The 2 schools that are doing extremely well with it right now is Siegel Middle and Browns Chapel. Both of those schools have 3 containers. And what we've been doing traditionally was going 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, dumping 8 yards worth of trash. What we're doing now with their efforts, we're going 3 times a week, dumping 1 8-yard worth of trash, 3 times a week, dumping 2 8 yards worth of recycle. The other schools aren't doing quite as well. The high schools aren't doing well at all. I'm not really concerned too much about the high schools because there are only 6 in the county. So if you take that number of schools versus the whole number, it's going to be okay. But if you take those 6 schools and combine their effort together, yard for yard, we have taken 39% of their garbage out of the trash and put it into recycle.
And what I was wanting you to explain to everybody is what goes in this. It's a streamlined process where all the recyclable commodities go in one.
Right.
And one thing, and this company is taking the whole bundle
It's
up.
all the paper products, cardboard, aluminum, plastic, the metal cans, even milk cartons, the cardboard out of the cafeterias, everything except for glass. The styrofoam we can't do anything with, the plastic forks we can't do anything with. But the schools have done really well with it. I think it's going to be kind of a push to change the culture. The way we set up the program to start with, we talked with Mr. Gill and got his consent. He was agreeable with it. And then we talked with Mr. Clardy and Mr. Blair. to get with them, and then we met with the 6 principals and the 6 custodians of those schools. And then we went to the schools and met with the cafeteria staff to explain the process to them, and they've done extremely well with it. The hope is, if you think about what's in the school, we think we should be able to reach somewhere in the neighborhood of 75% recycle out of the schools. Most of your garbage, true garbage, is the food products.
It sounded like when you opened that new Brown Chapel School, it fell right in.
Oh, they were, I don't remember the principal's name now, but she was really, really willing to go.
Why don't we, when we open these 2 new middle schools, Woodworth, Buck County, and Oakland, start off on them? Sound like a me. I mean, you only
Hopefully by the time they open, we'll have it county-wide already. And another thing that we're trying to do is do an actual trash audit, to where we look at every entity that we service and see what level of service they currently have and what they actually need. We've got some schools that are getting more service than they need. Their containers aren't full. And then we've got a few that their containers are overfull, that they actually need more service. So we're looking at trying to get that situated and be a little bit better with it. What Ron was also speaking of with the single stream, we've actually thought about doing single stream in convenience centers, where we take that cardboard compactor and put the paper, the plastic, all that into that one container. We probably won't put the metals in it, the tin cans and aluminum cans. But that way we can actually try to get a little density on those plastic loads, and hopefully we'll save some dollars there. What we've done in the convenience centers as well is the convenience centers that we've added the glass to, we put in 2 containers. One for colored glass and one for clear glass. Because what's happening to us now with locations with a segmented container where you have a segment of clear, brown, and green, usually the brown fills up fast. Well, you have to haul that whole container because the brown segment's full and the rest of it's empty. We've got 2 at the city of Murfreesboro. They've been there since the middle of December. We hauled them middle of last month. They were there right at 3 months. And we hauled the brown container, which was running over full. It weighed 5 tons of beer bottles. Now, that says at least they're recycling.
They must be from my district.
And there was less, and there was about 2 or 3 wheelbarrow loads of clear glass. But a lot of your clear glass is going away. What's in there is usually some mayonnaise jars, pickle jars, you know, that type bottles that you get through.
But, you know, the biggest benefit, and I was impressed with going, as we all did when we went down to look at this facility, is the fact that they can take all this and it will extend our existing landfill for, if we can get the whole county on board with this. So I thank you for pointing this out and taking us all down there and getting this program. And I think it's working real well.
Well, our between the city of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, we're dumping currently almost 1/4 of the garbage going into Middle Point.
But going back on the cardboard, if you're gonna allow that to go in there, do you still get the same, do they still pay you for the cardboard?
They'll still pay you for all the commodities. They'll pay you a little bit less because they have to do the separation on it. So that's something we're going to look at to see if that less value is still worth the density, because your haul is what's going to cost a lot.
Yeah.
Well, if you get more participation and you save the landfill, something that's just got to be looked at the numbers, but that's a very good program.
Is that it, Mac?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got a item here on state letter grant. We'll remove contract that we approve yearly. And this contract with Rutherford County. Closed, you will find a new contract for 2010, 2011. We need to approve it.
Standard contract we get every year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody get any other bill?
I do.
All right.
I've got some people that came up here tonight from subdivision out in my district, out in the Sunrise subdivision, and there is a tremendous problem with the road and the drainage that's going on out here. And I'm going to pass around pictures, and y'all can, they're duplicates, y'all can just sit around and look at this. What has happened is a developer put in a private road, and there's been so much confusion on who's supposed to do what, about setting up a maintenance, homeowner association is supposed to see that, and I've gone and pulled up the records over there, and talked to Doug about it, and it's kind of confusing to me. Not that I understand anything, and I know it's really confused for all of the folks that live in this subdivision. So, what I would like to bring up is twofold. Number one, for y'all to look at these, this road and the drainage, and this is what has happened in a nice quality subdivision. Houses are 300 up in this subdivision. There are, was it 10, 12, 14 lots or so that's out there? And to see if there's anything that we can do to go back and look through the records to see if there's anything that we can get the developer from the county's perspective to do. It doesn't appear to me that all the I's have been dotted and the T's crossed through this homeowners association or this road development. He was supposed to have set it up before things were built, and I hate to get involved in when the a horse has done run out of the barn and the gate's closed type of deal, but my request is that we can look at that to see if there's anything that the county can do to help these people, to bring some pressure on the developer to, or whatever situation needs to be with drainage. As you can look, and I'll be glad to explain anything, I've been up and down this for some time. There's drainage issues. It goes into a creek. There's not, the culverts aren't put in properly. The standards for the stormwater management were being to effect in December of 2004. This subdivision was plotted in May of '05. So the current requirements for the storm drainage were in place. So I'm not saying that anything hasn't been done totally correct, but it appears to me that there may be something that the county could do to look at this, and I would just hope the committee would kind of agree with that, and I hate to put anything else on the mayor, but I'm more interested in Doug coming back and looking to see, and letting legal look at this to see if there's something that's in this situation, because it's just a mess for us to have a quality subdivision out here with this road and no road association having been set up for. The road association was not established until October of 2008. It was supposed to have been established before the first building permit was ever issued. Got a letter from Doug to the developer in March of 2008 telling him, after, this is prior to Doug being there, so I would just like this to be looked into and to see if we can get some assistance for the folks that are out there. And I don't know if any of y'all, a lot of them are here, if there's any questions that you might have for all of them.
Just a private road.
Well,
when it's finished.
See, in 2000, the regulations say that you can't have a private road if there are more than 3 lots that go off of a private road. There is a stipulation that a developer can come and to request a variance, a waiver, if certain conditions were met. The conditions have to be stipulated in the waiver in the minutes. Well, the minutes don't reflect what the stipulations were, and this is and people can tell you, it's just a straight road. It's not, there should not have been any, and I've forgotten what the language says in there off the top of my head, but there's supposed to be an undue hardship on the developer from the topography in order to put this in, and that just didn't happen. He came through and got a waiver with no more than I can find that's in the minutes with just, can I have a waiver, but, so I don't know, I mean, it
Mr.
just.
Chairman, let me interrupt.
Okay.
Please, if you would.
No, please do.
All of this is valid information, and it's a little bit difficult from just the.
It's difficult to respond, I'm just wanting to start
see if
place.
the counties has done something or didn't do something it should have done, or if it's all the developer's responsibility. I would be happy to do a very thorough investigation of this with our attorney, but I'd rather not try to say who is at fault particularly at this point in time, because I think that would be putting us in maybe even in some jeopardy. So I'd
Well,
like for us to.
Oh, I'm not wanting
carefully and
to,
thoughtfully do this.
I'm not wanting to point the finger, I'm just saying that you can ask these folks and look at these
Well, it's pretty
pictures.
obvious this road has been built up to no one's standard, so.
That's right.
That's obvious.
And the drainage that's in there is not to anybody's standard,
But
so.
I'd rather us not discuss in any detail who didn't do what or who should have done this until we can have some thorough, careful review of this with our attorney.
But my only purpose is 2 points. Number one, for us to have that investigation and to look at this and to get back to the committee or to the folks, and let's do that. And number two, let's put something in place where this never happens again to anybody else in the county. It's pitiful, but those are my only 2 points on that.
I think we need to turn it over to the mayor and let him get with that planning and.
That was all I was wanting.
And let them handle it. I don't think it needs to. We need to be addressing this at this level here to, they handle this, because you got private roads all over the county and then those hundreds of them. You get in ditch, you get in big problem.
Well, I don't have any solutions, I just have enough to ask questions, and the folks are out there have been trying to get something, where do they go, and they just get so much misinformation, and just, so if we get this done, I think that'd be a step.
He said he's willing to take it on, so we're gonna turn it over to him, let him get with the engineering, and let him get back with those folks right here.
Thank you very much, that's all I
We
want.
have another meeting or two, I don't know how Becky and I are gonna do all this work, but this.
If we just get it started, we're better off than we have been, so that's my only point. Thank you, that's all my business.
Any other business? We'll adjourn.
That's how you don't go.